Hello guys, it is iFree700. We are here with a webtoon comic review. Ooh boy. I've never really done this before. So besides that, we're gonna kind of ease into it with what I think is a very good comic. So with the comic in mind, what comic would it be? It would be I'm the Grim Reaper. Now, this comic is done by Graveweaver. Graveweaver is, well, she does really good art. And supposedly she's been doing this art for quite a long time. Now, she has a YouTube channel apparently, and on that YouTube channel she explains the whole backstory, all the ideas behind the I'm the Grim Reaper comic books. Me, I haven't delved into any of that. I just know she's done it. Now, my review is going to be strictly on the comic, so for those of you who are like dear diehard fans and you're like, oh my god, he doesn't know the plot because he didn't watch the YouTube. Sorry, I'm judging it basically on the art. Just like you would judge the Harry Potter movies by just the movies. So this is what we're going to talk about, is just the comics. Now, how is it though? That's the main question, you know. Is it a good comic? Yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's actually really good. So the artist does something that other webtoon artists does not do. She actually uses the blanks in between the two scenes. She actually uses those as transitionings sometimes. This is what I think makes her stand out from other artists, is that other artists, they'll just put scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and in between these scenes you have these massive black blocks. Not Graveweaver. See, I'm going to show you an example now from episode 1, so it's not a spoiler. See, like right here, what Graveweaver does is she uses this blank spot as a transitioning piece. And this is what I'm talking about. It transitions so beautifully. And then boom, we're into the next slide. So what happens here is by doing these transitions, it really dives your mind into what the comic is. It really grabs your attention and it says, hold on now. This isn't just going to continue dialogue. See, you got all this shit happening all at once. It's really effective and it's really awesome that Graveweaver actually does this. And I wish more artists would do it. This is again why I'm reviewing Graveweaver's I'm the Grim Reaper. I think it's a fantastic comic. It does have its downsides though. It does. So Graveweaver is a very interesting individual because she's kind of like a big mood. So I like her attitude. I like the ideas behind it. I just know some people won't. So when she does this comic book, I'm the Grim Reaper, she's doing this for herself. She's not doing this for anyone else. She's putting what she likes to see in a comic. Now, if someone like me or someone else comes by and we say, hey, could you add something like this into this stuff? She's going to tell you no. So that could be a downside. In my opinion, I think that's actually a good thing. Because as I've said on my own channel, if you don't put out the content that you want, you're never going to see it. So, hey, my YouTube channel is based on lesser known stuff. So, fuck it. If my channel's lesser known, that's kind of what I get, right? Now, when it comes to the whole idea of Graveweaver and I'm the Grim Reaper, as far as the story goes, it's actually really good. It's captivating. It captures my interest. So she takes a more divine comedies approach to hell and to heaven and to all this shit, which is actually a really good idea because everyone loves Dante's Inferno. Everybody loves it, even though most people haven't read the fucking thing. But when it comes to Graveweaver, she's actually done a good job at capturing that different stages of hell aren't exactly what we would picture or imagine. Like, her character, who I'm going to leave the name obsolete, but the main character, the Grim Reaper, she is sentenced to the 9th stage of hell. And it's like, okay, 9th stage, that's the last stage. That is the worst stage. And she shows you what it's kind of like, which is that it's absolute nothingness. No torture, no nothing. So, the interesting thing about this, though, is that when we watch the comics later on, we see that the deeds and the sins performed by the people that get them into these stages of hell don't necessarily reflect what their crime was. Like, a murderer, and this is a person who killed her own baby, she gets sentenced to the stage 5. So there's 4 more levels of worse shit that you can do than murdering your own child. And that's what the comic is more about. It's more of a Dante's Inferno feel. So, like, what do you get for murdering your own child? Simple. Crows ravage your body and keep pecking away at your meat, eating you alive, and then your body regenerates, so you just keep suffering and suffering for eternity. There's also a limbo, and there's also a heaven. We haven't really seen much of that yet, but I really like the artist's approach to it, which is that she's going more of a Dante's Inferno. So this leads to a bit of speculation, okay? Again, I haven't watched the fucking YouTube stuff, so I don't know. This is all speculation. I like it. My speculation is betrayal. Betrayal would be the 9th stage of hell. Why do I say that? Because I have read the Divine Comedies, and when it came to the 3 individuals who were in Satan's mouth having the worst punishment, being chewed on him for eternity, one of them was Brutus. That's right. Brutus. Et tu, Brute? Yes, him. And what was his sin? Not only killing Julius Caesar, but also betrayal. Betrayal is the worst thing you could ever do to a person. Worse than murdering them. So that's why I think the 9th stage is going to be in this comic. It might not be. And that's something that's really fascinating, is that this comic does a really good job capturing your idea into, oh, what's hell? Oh, wow, hell has very different views on morality than we would. Like, a murderer, you would think the worst punishment imaginable. Rapist, worst punishment imaginable. Not really. There's some worse things out there than those. And that's what I like about the story. Now, as far as the art design is actually really good. The only issue I have is that, like this image here, some of the art gets a little weird and kind of less detailed. But then in other slides, it's super detailed. One of my favorite things about this artist is that some of the imagery in the background is actually really well done. So what's going to happen is she'll do a flashback scene. And in the flashback, the character is fully designed, but the background is very foggy, intentionally done that. And that's to capture that this is a flashback. That is beautiful art design. That's very beautiful ideas to put into your novel or a comic, my bad. But when it comes to the whole less detailed stuff, I'm kind of not a fan of that, so I am going to mark that down saying that that's a negative. Now, when it comes to the other stuff, like the characters are actually very interesting and very unique. I'm not really a big fan of pretty boys, just because I'm kind of a man's man. I kind of like rough, mean dudes. Well, the character, on the other hand, likes pretty boys who are, well, pretty. And she does a good job with the detective, who's the primary supporting character, where he's going to be a cute face, but he actually does have a very interesting story behind him. But there are times where he just comes off as just pretty much a cute boy. That's it. That's really all he comes off as. Now, the main character, the Grim Reaper, she's actually really interesting, very badass, very interesting individual. The only issue I have is that throughout the comics, you're going to see it where supposedly this person's so bad that she deserves a 9th stage of hell. But as we're going through, it's really obvious that maybe she's just a normal person. Like, I don't know. It just seems like she's a normal person. There are very, very few times where I actually see the Grim Reaper be evil. Like, I kind of wanted to see that in this comic book, was a slide or whatever where the girl just does something totally heinous just because she wanted to. The most evil we get is that she sticks around the detective only because he's a sinner, so if anything, if she just doesn't find a sinner that day, she could just kill him. But as the comics progress on, 5 episodes later, she's never going to ever fucking kill this guy. So that's something I'm also going to put as a downside, is that this person's supposedly so evil, so bad, that they deserve the 9th stage of hell. But we're not given a lot of examples of how this person is that bad. If anything, this person comes off as a pretty good person, by all regards. Mind you, I've done some really scummy shit, whereas this character just rubs me off as like the Virgin Mary. She just kind of stuck in this role and she just has to play along with it. Yeah, I'm a virgin. Yeah, I'm pregnant. 3 dudes just randomly showed up to my house. Just play along with it. Now, besides that, how would I rate this comic? This comic I would actually say is a really high number. I would give it a good 8, 7 out of 10. The reason why it's not a 9 or a 10 out of 10 is because of those reasons I've stated. It's got some scenes that are lacking in detail, and I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just laziness. There are also other things like plot holes, which to me is a big thing. Like, apparently the person can't die because they're a Grim Reaper, but you can like mutilate them severely. And to me, that's just weird. Also, Satan doesn't come off as this really bad person. He just comes off as a weeaboo, just this cringy, cute guy. It just doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know. And then also the plot between the character being this so bad of a person, but never are we given examples of that. Now, again, the artist is not going to really take any of my criticism to heart because she's going to be doing what she wants to see, which is perfectly fine. As I said, we all like it. We all have our opinions. The only issue is that, you know, some of these plot holes I can kind of see already, and I hope that as the story progresses, those plot holes don't get bigger. Because that's what tends to happen a lot of time, is that when an artist or an author or a movie producer makes their product, they will have a few plot holes in the beginning, and as the story goes on, they just never touch it, so those plot holes get fucking bigger. So it's one of those things where you can't really neglect it, so please address it, or else it's going to get big. It's going to be huge. At the same time, the artist does have a Patreon, Graveweaver Patreon. So if you guys actually do like her, please support her. Give her, you know, $5, $20, $100, your whole life savings, maybe your firstborn child. Support her any way you can. Well, firstborn child might be more of a hindrance. But either way, I think Graveweaver's done a good job, and I would love to just have like an interview with her and just kind of talk to her a little bit, just see like what was it that really got her into artistry and what made her decide on these transitioning slides. I really love it. And at the end of every comic, she puts like her own little avatar, which is an elf. And it's really funny because it's usually a pullback back into reality kind of thing, where she'll say like a side commentary or something like, oof. Now, some people might not like that. Some people might think, oh, well, this breaks my immersion. This breaks me. Now I can't get into the next episode because it just got pulled out. Actually, it's a really good story device. It's a really good narration tool to be using as an artist, as a reader, as anything. Because what I tend to do when I read books is I tend to end a chapter and I'll close the book and just go, wow, that happened in chapter? Wow. Because what I notice a lot of people do is people just kind of become robots. They just become drones. Flip, next chapter, flip. And then when someone comes along who's also read the book and they go, hey, you remember chapter 3 when this crazy scene happened? They'll be like, no. Because I just fucking brain dead flip. No, something that I would always recommend is, it's a lot like when you read stories to children. Every time you read a story to children, after you read like one page, you always look at the child and go, ooh, wow, are you my mother? And by doing that, it engages the person more into the book. It lets them think for a brief moment. Just reflect on what they just saw. Reflect on what they just learned. And that's something I think is a very important tool that narrators need to do more often, is always have that call back to reality where you just step back and go, you know, that was a lot of shit that just happened. So besides that, this has been me, Freeze700. I'm out. I like this comic, and I think I'll do more webtoon comics later in the future. But this one I think is really good. Always give it a try. And if you want to support her, go ahead and support her on Patreon. See you guys next time.